What do people who've lived nearly a century think about love, regrets, aging, and happiness? I wanted to find out. So I sat down with 6 people over the age of 90. Some of them were still sharp as ever. One even joked about doing push-ups to keep the grandkids in check. Others had slower speech, needed help hearing, or relied on walkers to get around. But every single one of them had something to say that stopped me in my tracks. I expected a few cliches. You know, the usual, enjoy the little things, or don't sweat the small stuff. But what I got was something much deeper. They talked about the one person they never apologized to. The moment they realized youth isn't forever, the years they spent doing what others expected instead of following their own path. And they also talked about joy, about dancing, about making peace, about finally learning how to be kind to themselves. Some stories made me laugh. Others made me sit in silence long after they finished speaking. But they all made me think differently about what it really means to grow older and what truly matters in the end. So if you've ever wondered what life looks like through the eyes of someone who's been here almost a century, here's what I learned from 6 seniors who've seen just about everything life can throw at you. Lesson number 1, your mindset matters more than your health. At 93 years old, Arthur has been in a wheelchair for over a decade. His hands shake a little when he lifts his coffee, and his legs haven't worked the way he wants them to in years. But if you sat across from him for even 5 minutes, you'd forget all of that. He's cracking jokes, teasing the staff, and launching into stories like a stand-up comic with perfect timing. At one point, he looked me dead in the eye and said, "Every day I wake up, I win. The rest is a bonus." That line stuck with me, because Arthur isn't in perfect health. He needs help with everyday things. He can't walk or drive or even get out of bed without assistance. But his mind is alive. His spirit, even more so. He told me that when his body started to fail, he had 2 choices: feel sorry for himself or double down on gratitude. So he started focusing on what was still working: his sense of humor, his memories, his ability to make people laugh. And you know what? Everyone in that place gravitated toward him, not because he could move fast or do much, but because he chose to see the good. You can't always control what happens to your body, but your mindset, that's still yours. And sometimes that makes all the difference. Lesson number 2, love isn't just for the young. Margaret is 91. When I met her, she had this soft, graceful way about her, like someone who had lived a full life and learned to be at peace with it. She lost her husband when she was 83. They'd been married over 50 years, she told me. When he died, I thought that part of my life was over. Romance, companionship, all of it. But then 2 years later, when she was 85, she met Harold, a retired professor, widowed like her, with a slow smile and a gentle way of listening. They met through a community garden project. At first it was small talk, then it was coffee, and then it was something more. He made me feel seen again, she told me, not just as someone's grandmother or someone getting old, but as a woman. That line hit me hard, because there's this idea that love has an expiration date, that it's reserved for the young or the newly married or people who still move fast and have their whole lives ahead of them. But love doesn't care about age. It just needs 2 open hearts. Margaret and Harold don't talk about the future in decades. They talk about enjoying the day, the hour, the moment. They go slow. They hold hands. They laugh at the same stories over and over. And it's beautiful. Love doesn't end after loss. Sometimes it shows up quietly, when you least expect it. Lesson number 3, regret doesn't come from what you did, it comes from what you didn't do. Out of the 6 seniors I spoke to, every single one of them mentioned some form of regret. But here's the interesting part. It was never about the mistakes they made. It was always about the things they didn't try, the chances they didn't take, or the words they held back. Take Arthur, for example. He's 94. Sharp as a tack, quick wit. But when I asked him what he wished he'd done differently, he didn't hesitate. "I should have danced more," he said. "I was always too self-conscious, too worried about looking silly. But now, I'd give anything to be able to stand up, hold someone close, and just sway to the music." Then there was Eleanor, 92, who never took the trip to Italy she dreamed about. Not because she couldn't, but because she kept putting it off. Life kept happening, she told me. Kids, work, responsibilities. I kept saying someday, and then someday never came. Their message was loud and clear. Say what you need to say. Go where you want to go. Try the things that scare you a little. Because in the end, it's not the failures that haunt you, it's the what-ifs. And if you're still here, still breathing, still able, you've still got time to say yes to something you've been putting off. If you've made it this far, and this is hitting home, just drop the word "here" in the comments so I know you're still with me. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing. We're building something really special here, and I'd love for you to be part of it. Lesson number 4. Family means more than things. I met a woman named Ellen, 88 years old. A few years back, she sold the house she'd lived in for over 5 decades. She gave away most of her furniture, donated her antiques, and packed what was left into a small apartment near her daughter's place. I used to worry about the silverware, she laughed. The china set, the dining table, even the curtains. I thought they all mattered. But you know what I miss the most now? The sound of my grandkids' feet running through the house. She told me downsizing wasn't just about space. It was about finally realizing that the things she had spent her whole life collecting didn't matter as much as she thought they did. What mattered was having time, energy, and room to focus on people. I'd trade every fancy thing I owned for one more Sunday dinner with all my kids around the table, she said quietly. There's a lesson in that. The older we get, the more we realize that stuff is just stuff. It doesn't hug you back. It doesn't laugh at your old stories. And it definitely doesn't show up when you need someone to talk to. Let go of the clutter. Make room for connection. In the end, that's what truly stays with you. Lesson number 5. Time goes fast. Stop waiting. Harold was 92 when I met him, sitting by the window of a retirement home with a scrapbook in his lap. He flipped through photos of Rome, Paris, and Tokyo, all taken just a few years earlier. The catch? He didn't start traveling until he was 88. I always wanted to see the world, he told me, but there was always something in the way. Work, kids, bills, bad timing. I kept saying, one day, and then one day, I woke up and realized I was almost 90, so he booked a trip, then another, then another. But by then, his body was starting to slow down. His knees hurt. He couldn't walk far. Stairs were a nightmare. Still, he went, slowly, carefully, joyfully. Looking back, he shook his head. Why did I wait until my knees didn't work to start living? That one stuck with me. We all have something we're waiting to do, a dream we shelved, a place we said we'd visit, a passion we meant to chase when the timing was better. But perfect timing doesn't exist. Life isn't waiting, and neither should you. Don't wait for retirement, for more money, for someone else to go with you. Just go. Just try. Because time moves fast and knees don't last forever. So after sitting down with 6 people who've lived more than 90 years on this earth, what stuck with me wasn't anything flashy. Not one of them bragged about a job title, how much money they made, or the square footage of their house. They didn't care about what kind of car they drove in their 50s. You know what they remembered? People, moments, laughter around a table, holding someone's hand, a grandchild's voice, the feeling of warm sunlight through the window on a quiet morning. One of them said, "You know what I miss the most? My mom's chicken soup, 92 years old, and that's what he longed for. Not a promotion, not a new phone, just soup." It really puts things in perspective, doesn't it? Aging doesn't mean fading, it means distilling. What's left when all the clutter is gone? Love, attitude, gratitude, the people you hold close, and the way you see the world. So wherever you are in your journey, 60, 70, 80, it's not too late. Not too late to laugh more, to love again, to let go of regret, or to try something you've always dreamed of. It's not too late to change your story. And now I'd love to hear from you. If you had to pass on one life lesson to the next generation, what would it be? Drop it in the comments. I read everyone. If this video meant something to you, please give it a like, share it with someone who needs it, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like these. We're building something special here, and I'd be honored to have you on the journey. And truly, thank you for spending part of your day with me. I know your time is precious, and I don't take that lightly. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.